So it's like 1900 or something. It's 1859. Constance Drinkwater's husband has died. Is home alone, and Professor Crab and Hopley get shipwrecked and rock up on her doorstep and are like, "Let us in." And she's like, "My daughters are sick, so we're in quarantine, so I can't." And she already knows Professor Crab because he's been there like a year before. And she's like, "Alright, I guess you can come in." But then she sees Hopley, realises he's Asian, because he is. And she goes, "Oh shit, you're going to give my daughters yellow fever and they're already sick." And Professor Crab's like, "No, he doesn't have yellow fever." Anyway, a lot later, there's a priest called Father Angelico who rapes the girls, and he's really crazy. And it turns out that the governess, Clementine, and the Aboriginal housemaid Ivy have both died. And Professor Crab's like, "Oh wow, isn't that weird? Everyone's died." And then 5 of Constance's 7 daughters have died. All that's left is Fortitude and Hope, and they're twins, and they're very creepy, and they're into like the other world and shit. Towards the end of the first act, there's lots of arguments and shit, and everything's a bit dodgy, and Constance always refers to this ginger jar, which is actually like her husband's ashes, but it's actually poison that we find out at the end. Father Angelico gets speared through the head somehow. We assumed when we did the play reading that it was some kind of tribe of Aboriginals, because it was said that he raped Ivy, the housemaid, too, and she was Aboriginal. Anyway, towards the end, um, the ghosts of all the dead sisters come back and haunt them or something, and then Fortitude doesn't eat for a while, but Hope does, and Hope dies, and it turns out her mother's poisoned her, and her mother's poisoned all the children, and Professor Crab and Angelico, and then, bloody hell, I can't fucking remember this dumb story, and I did it so many times. At the end, it turns out that, Constance and Crab just stay in the same place, and she's like replaced her husband with Crab, and Fortitude goes off with Hopley to find a new life, and yeah, the civilization of Somerset just rots away into history and nothing ever happens. Away. I read this one yesterday actually, and it wasn't that bad. Away, there's this guy called Tom, and he's in a school play with this girl called Meg, and they're like in love, and they're all lovey-dovey and shit. And anyway, he gives her a present because they're all going away on holidays or something. And her parents come along and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing with this riffraff?" And her parents are real snobs, especially her mother, Gwen, who's a real bitch, who I fucking hate. I hated her. Anyway, so, they go on holiday. Tom's family also goes on holiday. And then there's this, the principal of the school goes on holiday with his wife, whose name is Coral. His name is Roy. Anyway, so Coral's at this hotel, and she, like, is all fucked up because her son went off to war and he died, and so she's real messed up from it. She can't, like, function socially or something. And so, Roy's like, "You're fucked, you need to change, you need to start talking to people again." And she's like, alright, I will, leave me alone. And so, anyway, she starts talking to this woman, and this woman gets really scared because Coral's like, "Does your husband love you? How are you and your husband getting along?" and all this shit, because she's like fucked up with her own husband. And the woman's like, "Get the fuck away from me," but she doesn't. Anyway, and then she finds this guy called Rick, who she like almost has an affair with, and they spend all this time together, and they like kiss or something. And Rick's on his honeymoon, but he likes Coral more than his own wife. And so then Roy, her husband, finds out and is like, "You bitch, you're like half cheating on me or whatever." And she's like, "Crap." And he's like, "I'll lock you in a cellar, I'll beat you, I'll take care of you, no one else will ever see you, they won't know you exist, I'll take care of you." And he's like a really creepy husband. So she's like, "Fuck this," and hitchhikes. And she ends up down in the same place that the other two families are. How convenient. And so Meg's family has a big fight because her stupid evil mother, Gwen, decided to not take the father, Jim's, Christmas presents with them on the trip. So basically, Gwen's like, "Here's your presents," Meg's like, "Here's your presents," and the dad's like, "Oh, I don't fucking have it," because Gwen purposely didn't take it because she's an evil bitch. So they have a big fight, and then they're like, "Alright, fuck this." And then Tom's family is like really bored, and it turns out Tom has cancer of the blood. So, like, the parents are like, be happy, pretend you're having fun even if you're not, so that your other parent can be happy. They both say the same thing about each other. They just want the whole family to be happy because they're worried that he's going to die at any minute, which is sad. And anyway, him and Meg have this weird conversation where he like wants to have sex with her and he like breaks down because he wants to have sex before he dies, and he thinks he's going to die soon, and she's like, no, I can't do it. And then at the end, Tom and Coral put on a play together about this mermaid that wants to walk on the land or something, and at the end they have a bonfire together because apparently Coral and Tom are friends, and despite the age difference, which is a bit weird, I think. And that's it, yeah, they have a bonfire and the play ends. And then, oh wait, no, I lie. The last scene is like, they're back at school and Tom's reading another play, and everyone's happy because he's going to be a good actor and he's not dead. It's a bit weird. Mrs. Petrov's shoe, which I actually really liked, it was really good. Basically it starts off with this girl called Anna Lubansky, or Lubonsky or something. She's giving a speech about how she won this award for Best Novel, and she's very happy, and she's like, thank you, I've been through so much in Poland, it's nice to share my story, and I hope the Polish people like it, or whatever, because apparently she went through a lot of shit in World War II with the Poles or something, or it was, I don't know, it's really confusing. And then it fast forward to the story that she wrote, because she starts reading it to like the audience for some weird reason, and the story is all about how this child, whose name is Anya Lubov or something, who's like her alter ego or whatever. It's about how Anya's life is, and she like struggles because her father's sick, and everyone's at war and everyone's going missing. So her mother's like hiding an illegal immigrant guy whose name I cannot bloody remember. It's like Mr. something or other. It starts with a D, I think. Anyway, because I can't remember why. Apparently he's not legal or something. And so Anya's like, oh, my mum's a spy, she's sending things back to Poland or whatever. She's convinced that they're spies. And her friend, whose name is like, I can't remember her name, she has a friend, and her friend's like, really? And they go through school and they do some stuff, and it's not really all that consequential. And then halfway through the story, it randomly skips to like the 70s or something, the 60s or 70s in Australia again, where this family called the bloody, what the fuck are they? There's a shitty family called the Loxtons. Anyway, there's this family called the Loxtons, and there's like an Anna or an Anne in there or something, Anne Loxton, which it turns out is Anna Lubansky's real story. And they're like a regular suburban family, and they have a big cry about how their life is boring, and Anne's like, I hate my life, it's so boring, everyone thinks I'm an overachiever, and blah blah blah, which is fair enough. So Anne's like, I hate my family, it's really boring. Her mum's from Poland, but her mum never talks about it, and her mum speaks like bits of Polish, and so Anne just feels really, really boring, and she hates it. And I can't bloody remember the end of that chapter. It just goes on for a while about how she hates her life to her friend. And then the last chapter is this really weird big media hoopla thing, where everyone's found out she was a liar and she's not really from Poland or anything, because it doesn't make sense, and she'd have to be much older than she really is. And then, so everyone's really angry, and then some people are like, no, I understand why she made it up, she felt boring or whatever, and then some other ones are like, she's a lying bitch, she owes an apology to every Polish person in Australia, and stuff like that. And so there's like this big rant against her, and at the very end she's like, yeah, I did make bits of it up, but so what? And then, like, at the end, there's like this really weird part where you can tell she's like crazy, because she just randomly goes, well, if I can't be Polish, I guess maybe I was born in the slums, and maybe I never had food to eat, and my street was like really messed up, and there were criminals everywhere, and I was like poor. So basically she starts making up this new identity of like being really poor and hard done by and living in a fucked up street, and so you tell she's like absolutely mad, and that's the end. It's really interesting, actually, it is.